Hi. We're going to have a practice for grief, and I'm going to be drawing from this resource that I have been using a lot from Michelle Cassandra Johnson, Finding Refuge, Heart Work for Healing Collective Grief. And so for this practice, I invite you to check in with yourself to see if this actually is a suitable time for you to orient yourself towards grief that you might be carrying. If you have a full day ahead of you and you have to head out the door in a few minutes, maybe coming back to this when you feel a little bit more resourced. And I'll invite you to have object or objects around you that would feel nice to hold in your hand. I have this wooden cross here that feels really nice to hold. It's really smooth. I can wrap my fingers around it. I have this heart. It says faith on it, and this feels really nice too. I have a lot of things. I have this rock that I picked up off the shores of Lake Ontario. I visited there outside the village where I spent a lot of time as a child, where my grandparents lived. Then I have this really big piece of jasper, which it's kind of rough, but it feels really solid. So you might only have one thing, or you might take the time to pause this and select what feels supportive to you. And if you're like me, I like to have a bunch of different things and sort of move in between holding different types of weights, different textures. So we're going to have two meditations that will be bookends to a time of oming, the sound of the om with the Shruti box. So take your time to settle into a seat. This is a seated practice, although you can, if you choose, you can be standing and walking around doing this, holding your object if that feels good. You don't have to sit. It can be nice to be in a slow walking state of being. So take the time to notice what feels right for you in your body, whether you're seated or doing some slow walking. Take time to settle into your body, to anchor, if you're walking, into your feet. And you might, if it feels good, take your shoes off and maybe just have a pair of socks on. If you're seated, you might just settle into your posture, your seated posture. And when we're talking about grief here, this can be a personal loss of a loved one that has just occurred, or it shows up often as holidays come closer, even if it was a long time ago. Grief could be related to so many things right now. So however this shows up for you, you're welcome to center into this space. And we're going to connect with our hearts. We're going to connect with our hearts. And the heart is one of the most vulnerable organs that we have. It can be vulnerable to be embodied in the heart. So be tender and know that you can walk away and return when you choose to, time and time again. But we're going to start with the breath, and I'm going to be paraphrasing from Michelle's Finding Refuge. So find your object or objects, and you can place those next to you, near you, and even maybe hold one or two in your hands. And start to take some deep breaths in and out. And just Begin to breathe into your body. Feel the breath enter your body and release. And being very engaged with this breath at first, and allowing and inviting that sense of expansion on the inhale, that sense of release on the exhale. And begin to notice how this act of very intentional breathing changes and alters the shape of your body. You might even sense that expansion on the inhale and that little bit of contraction on the exhale. And see if you can begin to match the length of your inhale and your exhale. Equal part breath. This can help with clarity and quieting the mind. Breathing in, breathing out. You might notice the sound of your breath. As you breathe in, the sound of the breath as you breathe out. You might notice the temperature of the breath as you breathe in and you breathe out. Notice your sense of emotional awareness, what's showing up in your heart right now. Even while we're focusing on the breath, notice if there's a feeling in your heart center, a sensation or awareness. And now bring your awareness to the object that you have, whether it's a stone or a rock or maybe a memento from a loved one. Notice your connection with this object and the energy that this object is offering to you now. Taking that in, noticing, feeling, receiving. Each of our hearts is impacted by these utterly overwhelming times, and we're affected in different ways based on where we are in the world. And so bring your awareness to your heart and consider what you might even be holding in your own heart. This might be something very personal, or it might be something related to what's happening in the world right now. You might be challenged by the way culture encourages us to look away from the suffering of others, or explain, take sides, or perhaps to look away from our own complicity in suffering of others. So begin to lean into what emerges for you, and if you sense a lot of distress, just come back to your breath and your object. Maybe allow a little bit of movement, a little bit of rocking movement, tapping in the heart center. Allow the truth of what your heart is holding to sit with you for a moment. Notice how that truth lands in the rest of your body. What do you notice? Do you notice discomfort? Do you notice a sense of relief and awareness? Just take a few moments without judging to notice and feel. Noticing what it feels like to touch your heart space, to enter into your heart space. Notice what's in your heart and how that might be affecting your mind, body, and spirit. And breathing in and breathing out, releasing the observation. And just connecting with this simple awareness. And you can repeat after me if you choose. I feel my heart. I acknowledge my heart. I feel my heartbeat. I acknowledge my heartbeat. And so just take a moment to notice in silence what's present. And you can move your body if that feels supportive. Hold your object. And taking another deep breath in and out together. And I'll invite you to join me in creating the sound of the Om, A-O-M. And as we sound the Om, we can invite that sound to nurture and nourish our own beings. Vibration, the cleansing power of vibration. We can invite and allow that vibration to be sent as an embodied sense of comfort and acknowledgement of suffering to being or beings where our heart is drawn towards. And we can also invite that sound to resonate and reverberate out into the larger cosmos, trusting that this sound will land where it is needed. So we'll Om for a bit. Again, you can take a break anytime you need to, change your pitch, find your own pace. Deep breath in. And invite yourself to silently Om 2 more times. And noticing what has shifted and changed after the creation of sound in the resonating chamber of your own body. And again, inviting that invitation to breathe into your body, letting the breath come in, entering, expanding. And then fully releasing, letting go of that breath, letting go, expanding, inviting, releasing, and letting go. You might invite the awareness of that upward flow of energy as you breathe in, and the downward flow of energy as you breathe out. And again, allowing the breath to travel deeply through your body. We know that this is the way that the breath, when we breathe in and out deep and full, that the breath, that prana, is activated and travels. So you might notice the physical sensation of that, what that feels like emotionally, and noticing any spaces of tenderness or tension and responding to those spaces with your breath, with the inhale and the exhale and all of those spaces and pauses in between. And here in this space, as you continue to breathe in and out, inviting your awareness in your mind's imagination, in your mind's eye, to an image that represents integrity, wholeness, and healing. This could be a landscape. It could be a spiritual being. It could be a person, a mentor, or any other image that represents integrity, wholeness, and healing. Notice everything you can about this image. Is it static? Does it move? What else is there to notice? Continuing to breathe in and out, and bring your awareness to your whole self, the whole of your experience in this moment. This moment where you are invited to be fully yourself. Breathe, and if possible, even in the space of grief. Invite yourself to connect with an embodied sense of joy. Breathe, and if possible, invite yourself to connect with the parts of yourself that are yet to be fully understood. And with this connection to this image of integrity, of wholeness and healing, maybe you still have your object that you're holding. Invite yourself into awareness of this experience of healing, even if it feels still painful and somewhat uncomfortable. We recognize that that can also be what healing looks like. So even here, you can, if you choose, repeat after me. I am whole. I am healing. And inviting ourselves to be in that space of connection in the broader network that we're all held in, the mycelium of humanity, of other species. We are whole and we are healing. Breathing in and out. And thinking about the energy from this experience that is charged into your object. Maybe you're still holding it. And if possible, connecting to that image and the object as a reminder that you are healing. You are already healing. You are already whole wherever you are in your journey. And so I'll read to you from my book, Blessings Beyond Bypass, to end our experience together here. And I'll offer a blessing for anger and grief. May the weariness aching in your bones, born of grief, loss, and isolation, find you arriving at last in blessed rest to restore, heal, and fortify you. May the longing that grips your being flow through and express this ache in subversive poetry, songs of lament, hope, and transformation, lovely snacks, and ecstatic movement. May the rage that rises against the fucking machine that values productivity over people inspire you to build a collaborative community. May this sacred anger guide your people to show up where systems have failed to provide basic essentials, encouragement, and any meaningful means of support. May this wrath begin your work of building equity and continue with rejoicing. May the vision of the beloved community take a firm hold on your heart tender and broken wide open by the suffering of these times. May your bold heart embrace the radically sound notion that all beings have access to essential resources to thrive, freely and safely navigate in their body as they show up in these bodies and live in peace. So be it. So we'll end, if you'd like, by crossing your arms over your heart, giving yourself a little massage in your arms, giving yourself a hug, holding all of that positivity and or whatever is showing up for you. It doesn't have to be positivity. Holding whatever is present for you with tenderness, compassion, and fierce kindness.